According to the American Cancer Society, more than 34 million Americans smoke cigarettes. And smoking remains the single largest preventable cause of death and illness in the world. Quitting smoking is difficult, but you don't have to do it alone. And here to help you figure out how you can quit or to help someone you know quit smoking, we have Denise Taylor and Nora Katorakis from ChristianaCare. Thank you so much for joining us today, ladies. Why don't you explain to our viewers what you individually do to help our patients quit smoking here at ChristianaCare?
Sure. I'm a nurse at the Helen F. Graham Cancer Center. I'm the manager of the Community Health and Education Program. I'm also a smoking quit coach.
Okay.
And I'm a tobacco treatment specialist as well, and also the project manager for our tobacco cessation efforts for our inpatients.
So if someone watching saying you're a quit coach, I've never heard of that before, what does that mean?
Well, quitting is the best thing you can do for your health. So we have invested in having people who are experts provide what we know works, which is the quitting program, which has face-to-face counselor for 3 sessions, has products that are FDA approved that you would use to help quit, and then you come and you meet and make a plan, and we move you through the process to get you to quit.
Outpatients would have to make the decision and come in, but if, say, you were in the hospital for something completely different, you decided you wanted to quit smoking as well, how does that interaction work?
Yeah, so we get a list of smokers every day who are admitted to Christiana hospitals, and we have a tobacco treatment specialist that visits them at the bedside, has a discussion about their smoking in a non-judgmental way, make sure that they're as comfortable as possible, and have a nicotine patch while they're in the hospital if they want one, and then connects them to free care after discharge in the community to stay quit. We know that when people are in the hospital, it's an opportune time. It's a forced quit because there's no smoking on ChristianaCare campuses, and then they're often motivated by a health condition to want to stay quit.
And does it have to be the patient that tells you they'd like to quit, or can it be a family member who brings it to your attention?
Actually, we have learned that it's best to use an opt-out model, so we don't even work on the basis of referral. We try to visit all patients, because once you have that non-judgmental conversation with them in a caring manner rather than being told they have to quit, a lot of times that's what they need, and they don't know about the free resources that are available when they get home.
What about the outpatient? Can a family refer a smoker to the outpatient?
Yes, they can, but I agree with Denise that usually the best person who comes to quit is they refer themselves. We can get people who will call that 800 number and or the local 623-CARE borough line, I call it, and they can refer themselves. But when a family member gets involved, sometimes they mean well. They want the person to quit because they've seen them with some medical conditions which they know they would be doing better if they didn't quit. So I always like to say the person who usually enrolls themselves will show up. They are motivated. Their challenge is that sometimes they don't feel they'll be successful. So, usually if they refer themselves, they seem to, be very committed to it.
So a smoker who is very interested now in these services, there's also state services they could reach out to as well, correct?
Yes, and so the state program, which Delaware provides, the Delaware Quit Line, provides that service for an 18-year-old or must be a resident. And it can be 5 telephone sessions, which are convenient for some people, face-to-face, 3 sessions, and then also the QuitNet, which is a computer system that can be available. Because some people, you have to pick what's going to work for you. Just like anything, you'll be engaged in it if you pick what fits for your lifestyle and for the purpose of quitting.
One of the best things about the Delaware Quit Line compared to other quit lines throughout the country is that they offer one of the 7 FDA-approved products for free. So in addition to you have to be involved with the counseling, either face-to-face or telephone, like Nora mentioned. But when you take part in that, you're eligible for free products. So that might be nicotine patches, for example, or Chantix, a prescription medication. So that's a real benefit. And the Delaware Quit Line also offers unlimited re-enrollment. So you don't have to just quit in 3 sessions. If it takes you longer, you can automatically re-enroll, and it's all free.
Right. And that's a good point, Denise, because usually people will worry that they only have 3 sessions with us. But I find that the clients really, once you just reassure them that, look, we're here for the journey too. it's your pace, quit at your pace. We're here to support you. Sometimes we'll re-enroll them, and it may take them 9 sessions or more, but we'd rather see them stay quit than rush them through if they're not prepared.
Sure. So if someone came in to see you and said, I'm good, I don't need help, but I'll try it. I think who's not really buying in, but says, why not for 3 sessions, I'll come see you. Where do you start? Where do you start with someone who doesn't really want to quit and is kind of begrudgingly coming to see you?
Yeah, sometimes, quoting them some facts, it can help. They already know sometimes the health benefits for quitting, but I'd like to say, and I don't really say it, but 1 out of 3 people who come and use these type of services really are successful. Quitting on your own or cold turkey, if that's the way the person wants to do it, I just try to give them some tips on still making a plan, still looking at their triggers, taking them through the same process, even though they might not want to have a product to support them. Like I said, you have to meet the person where they are and really see what are they coming to you for. So.
Yeah, and really listening. I think there's a lot of ambivalence. Most patients want to quit, but they know the reasons. They hear that, but then to listen to them, they can work it through themselves. And it's sort of a motivational interviewing that we do.
Yes,
and so it's really about listening to the patient and helping them figure out, they want to quit, that's where they want to be, but they're still smoking. So why do they love to smoke? Even just walking them through that is a good process. So it helps them really figure out where they are and letting them know that, like Nora said, the combination of this counseling with a quit medication triples your chance of quitting. So there is free help for you to really be most successful.
Right.
Some people try cold turkey. Other people may come in and say, I've used a patch, that doesn't work. I'm out of ideas. What do you recommend?
When you work with a quit coach, we review all the 7 FDA-approved medications to help people quit. And there's nicotine replacement products that deliver nicotine in a slow way without the toxic chemicals and smoke. And so you have a long-acting patch. A lot of times people say, I've used the patch before and it hasn't helped. But if you're smoking 1 or 2 packs a day, a patch is just going to give you a much lower level of nicotine. Then we teach them that if you combine that with a gum or a lozenge when you feel that craving and you can't overcome it, that usually helps. So that combination therapy really increases your odds of quitting. And then there's also Chantix and Zyban. Those are 2 prescription medications that we review with the patients. If they choose, they need a prescription from their provider. But again, it's free through the Delaware Quit Line. Not many states offer that. So that's a huge benefit. And if someone hasn't tried that before, the success rates are really high with some of those medications. So those are 2 different approaches that people may not have tried in the past.
You mentioned the triggers. What do you find are the key triggers that most people want to smoke?
I always love to do that with people because they're right there staring them in the face, the triggers, and they never really realized that was what was causing them really to have that behavioral, embedded in their life. It could be that they get up in the morning and they say it's time for coffee, and right with the coffee comes the cigarette. Oh, they have a great meal, and then right after the meal, oh my goodness, the cigarette comes out. Now, with the Clean Indoor Air Act, that changed everybody's behavior in the restaurants, because they couldn't do that anymore. One also is in their car. The example of, we all know we need to wear our seatbelt, but they just smile and actually giggle sometimes when they say, you're right, exactly what I do. I get in my car, I put my seatbelt on, I adjust the mirror, and then before I know it, I'm reaching for the cigarette. Or I wait until I get to the next traffic light, I try to delay it a little bit, and then I need my cigarette in the car. So they know them, but they're just not mindful of them, and so that's what you're actually pointing out to them, that, hey, that's a trigger. Stress is the other one we hear about all the time. And I always say, by having that cigarette, will that alter the stress? And they say, no, it really didn't help much. Or they say, I don't know, let me think about it. So we're really just reflecting back on their behaviors and what they do every day and how smoking is incorporated in their life, and let them decide how they're going to make a distraction for that trigger. Right, Denise?
Right, yeah. I mean, cigarette smoking is an addiction, and we like to think about it that there's the physical addiction to the nicotine, there's a behavioral addiction that is the habits, the triggers, and then there's an emotional addiction that includes some of those behaviors, like you think that or emotions like stress or relaxation, you think you're smoking, or some people say cigarettes are their best friends. Right. So by taking a medication and working on that nicotine addiction for the physical part, they can more focus with us on the behavioral and emotional piece.
And how do you work with that? They get in their car, they put their seatbelt on, they pick up that cigarette. How do you help someone, not do that? What kind of conversations does that entail?
We talk about saying, what will you do instead? So think about it. After you have the first session, I always say to them, think about these things and reflect back. You're with yourself 24 hours a day. I'm not. But when you're in that situation, think how you could distract yourself. A bottle of water is a good way to carry that in the car, because when you're going to reach for something, if you're used to your hand, picking up something, okay, well, drink some water. Water's good for you too. When you get up in the morning, they say that's the hardest cigarette to get rid of. Then you have to figure out, where do you sit? Do you want to give up coffee? Some people want to give up coffee and say, whatever it's going to take, if coffee's the trigger, I'll do without it. So you give them examples, and then they start to converse back about, well, I think I can go for a walk after my meal instead of having a cigarette. I think I can take the dog without a cigarette. I think I'll leave my cigarettes in the bedroom. I'm not going to put them where I could readily get them. Or I'm just not going to buy any more cigarettes, and then I won't reach for them.
And do you have the conversations as well about just the health risks of smoking?
This is where the stigma gets into it, where people will come and they're really embarrassed still that they have these medical conditions, and they sometimes will say, I know all of that stuff about that. I'll be better off if I quit smoking. But they sometimes need to be reminded, that, okay, if you stop quitting, your blood pressure will recover quickly. If you stop quitting, your circulation, will recover. They sometimes don't believe it right away. The one that I always like is, I always say, how winded are you walking to my office? And then I say to them, how are you feeling about a month later? And they'll say, I really saw a difference. I'm not as breathless. So those are the things that are immediate.
Obviously, cigarette smoking is a major risk factor for cardiovascular disease and lots of cancers. So, as you're quit, the longer you're quit, those rates go down.
The ones that I think are important that people don't realize with cancers is still the risk of cancer kind of lingers a little bit differently than those immediate effects like the heart disease and some of the others. You really have to be 10 years out, but you still have the risk of other cancers like mouth cancer, esophagus cancer, pancreatic cancer, bladder cancer. And that's what people don't realize. We focus so much on lung because lungs are number one, but they can get these other cancers and they think, oh, why'd I get this other cancer? And it could be the effect of the chemicals from the cigarettes.
So do you show your patients Mr. Grossmouth here?
Well, we use that in the community, and actually in the community is where you can get people who really are kind of not sure whether they want to quit or not, and then they call the office. That's kind of how I get a lot of my referrals. I may get some from Denise's inpatients, but then just through having these kinds of things in the community, people don't know where they can go to get help. And they've tried many, many times and maybe haven't been successful. So, what is it, 8, 9 times to be successful?
Right.
So.
And every time you quit, you learn something about yourself. So, if people come to a quit coach, they're going to learn that if you work with, it's like any addiction. If you combined behavioral counseling with some sort of quit medication, you triple your chances of quitting. So,
families always want to help, and I know that they don't know what to do. But the one thing that I always ask my clients is, I say, do you have a support person? Do you have somebody that that quit before? Like, how did they quit? So we have that kind of conversation, because if they learn something from somebody who quit, that raises their confidence that they could quit too. The one that's really hard is when a family member is trying to understand but doesn't understand it's an addiction. So I show them our magic triangle, I call it, and at the top of it, it talks about this is an addiction. and so don't try to argue with your family, but you know this, it's an addiction. And your family needs to understand, be caring and supportive. And really, I tell a couple of my other clients, I say, just tell them not to nag you, that you're on a quit at your own pace, not my pace, your pace.
That's key.
That's key.
I hear that all the time.
Yeah.
That, family members in the hospital nagging their loved ones to quit. And, they do say, just please don't nag me. I'll let you know, I can use your support, but let me tell you how you can help. And that's really key.
Let's remind our viewers, how can they get in contact with you?
So they can go through the 623 CARE line, which is 623-7793, and then there's an 800 number for that, which I think you're going to display on the slides. And I think that through outreach, if you see us in the community and you ask, hey, how can I get a hold of the Quit line? We have resources all the time when we're out at community health fairs, so that's another way. Denise?
We have a great website on our ChristianaCare page that has a lot of great resources, including text programs. There's so many ways to quit now. There's it's great in Delaware that you can get free product and free counseling. That's not for everyone. Some people might want to use a text program or group support or have an app on their phone in addition to some of the programs that we offer. So all that information is available through our website.
Great. Well, Denise and Nora, thank you so much for joining us today. And if you have more questions about ways you can quit smoking, leave your questions in the comments below and we will get back to you as soon as we can.